Tell you what, I don't record a bloody video for like months and I forget how cameras work. You wanna come on? Hi friends, today we are talking about periods. Yeah, sorry. We're going to be talking about how to deal when your body is doing the thing. We're going to talk about sensory issues. We're going to talk about dysphoria. I've been inspired to make this video by EcoPeriod Australia. They've sent me a lovely product to try, and I thought it would be a really good opportunity to broadly talk about periods, ADHD, sensory issues, the whole shebang. Let's talk quickly about why periods hit different when you have ADHD or autism or both. There is a connection between having ADHD and having hormonal issues, but also just generally we have issues with dopamine already. And when we are in the flux of a menstrual cycle, that can make dopamine retention even harder. There was also a really interesting study that demonstrated that There was a really interesting study that demonstrated that ADHD medications are actually less effective the week before your period. Something to do with ADHD medications being estrogen dependent, and having that big drop in estrogen means that they basically don't work. So if you feel extra crappy and like your brain just isn't working the week before your period, that could be why. When I went to my doctor about this, I got put on SSRIs, but there have been trials of upping the dosage of stimulants that you're on that week before your period, the luteal week, to see if that helps with symptoms. And there's been some early positive results, but a lot of doctors might not be willing to try this just yet. So talk with your medical professional, because I am not one. People with autism and ADHD are also at a higher risk of having PCOS and irregular periods, and just general issues with things like the pill and medication intolerances. It becomes very complicated. And then that's before we even start with the sensory situation. So now let's talk about the sensory situation. First of all, there are the sensory issues that come with the period itself. That's a big deal. I probably don't need to go into gruesome detail, and I'm not going to. If you get a period, you understand what that feels like. I want to talk specifically about sensory issues with various period products. I personally will not use tampons. That is just my personal preference. There are a lot of people who might feel that same way about pads or about any other product. Everyone kind of finds what they can tolerate most. I won't say the word like, can tolerate most. I have had issues before, ADHD, with forgetting that I have a tampon in and leaving it in for too long, and toxic shock syndrome. Oh my gosh, say that 10 times fast. Toxic shock syndrome, toxic shock syndrome is bad. It can be lethal, and it's basically super concerning for someone who has ADHD and often forgets that they have put something inside them. I have also heard anecdotally from other people with ADHD that they've forgotten they had one in already, and then they put a second one in. Nightmare. And then they've taken it out and been like, oh, there's more. No thank you. So I just avoid that whole realm of issues, I would say. Pads, hate every single kind. Wings, without wings, the choices are overwhelming. I have always had a really heavy period, and I've found that regular products don't offer me a lot of coverage in those areas, and so I usually end up wearing things like the maternity pads just to make sure that I am fully covered. Because of sensory issues, some products just might be completely off the radar for people with autism or ADHD, and because of that, a lot of our options can be limited. You might be overwhelmed from too many choices. I personally know that if I stand there in that particular section of the aisle, I will stare at everything, reading all of the labels and just thinking, do I like... And because there's always new things as well, right? These new organic cotton breathable ones, and I'm like, maybe I should try that. And there's so many choices and options, and it's really overwhelming. And if you buy a pack and you try something, then you feel like you have to use the rest of the 16 because it costs so much as well. Don't even get me started on how much menstrual care products cost. Ridiculous. There is also, like I mentioned before, the executive function task of having to track and change products. I often forget, even when I'm wearing pads, to change them, and this is TMI, I'm sorry, almost every month I have to wash clothes because I get a really heavy period and I forget to change my pads, and so I will bleed through things, essentially. It's why I don't... Oh no, I do own a white couch. I haven't bled through onto the couch, it's okay. Maybe I should get a different colored couch. Anyway, there's also the mental load of buying supplies and remembering to have enough supplies before you run out, and then remembering that month upon month upon month, and it keeps going. I use a really great app called Stardust that has really helped me understand not just when you get your period, but the entire menstrual cycle and the way that your energy and it affects every aspect of your life, your diet, your mood, your sleep. This app, it's kind of witchy vibes, which I also like. Apparently I'm a white witch because my cycle aligns with the moon cycle, which is kind of cool, I guess. But basically there are a lot of period tracking apps out there. Taking a moment to note that period apps come with their own data tracking issues, and if you live in particular places where that data could be held against you for legal reasons, I think that's enough said on that if you catch my drift. Just be cautious of those kinds of things. Stardust, as far as I know, does not share data with third parties or anything like that, so it's one of the good ones, but there are many products out there that do. That's just made me mad thinking about that. Okay. Executive function and taking medication like the pill is a whole other thing. I'm not even going to talk about that. I have a lot of like pill trauma from being put on it when I was very young, which shouldn't happen essentially. So I'm just not going to talk about that right now. But I will talk about the dysphoria dimension. For many of us, there's another layer to all of this where periods can induce a deep sense of gender dysphoria, especially if we don't feel like we align with, it can bring up a lot of feelings. For me, definitely, I kind of did everything I could to ignore the fact that I was on my period and really just try to power through it and not look at stuff, essentially, which was not a healthy way to do things, and it meant that I wasn't really listening to my body as well, and I would be in even more pain as a result. Really not a good way to go about it. So it's really hard to balance these feelings of dysphoria with understanding your cycle and your needs, because ultimately that is what your body is going through no matter what your gender identity is. I'm a non-binary person who has a period. There are, trans men who have periods, those kinds of things. It can be quite normal to feel this kind of bodily disconnect between what is happening to your physical body and how you feel. I think dysphoria can also affect the product choices that you make when you're thinking about what you want to use. Traditional marketing for period products definitely hasn't always made this worse. It's always been very feminine and, the blue liquids and everything's pink. And I think we're only now starting to see a shift away from that, which is really refreshing, especially shifting towards products like period underwear, which is what I'm about to try, where we're thinking about these kinds of more sustainable, more discreet, less heavily gendered products in a sense. So, EcoPeriod Australia sent me a package. It says, "I'm a real dirtbag. I'm partly made from plants in a zero waste process." Very cool. It's a compostable bag. Very nice. There's a little sticker on it. I like the sticker. This is the underwear straight out of the thing. First impression, they're quite big, but I'm a large. I think they look bigger than they are because they feel basically like underwear with a pad in them. I don't know if you can see how thick that is, but the material is very soft and there is no tag. Sensory friendly. We absolutely love that. Oh my goodness. I'm a little bit concerned about the waistband and the leg band. I understand that because of the nature of the product, it needs to be sealed in a sense. This kind of waistband digs into me usually, which is kind of not the most comfortable thing, but I guess I won't know until I wear it. So we'll see. The pad also, it goes all the way up. I can feel kind of the pad fabric and it goes all the way up the back, which I like. I like that. I wonder if you could sleep in these. It's also very wide on the back, like wider than a pad would be. So very interesting. I like how-to instructions. Oh, there's a little instruction card kind of thing that says the size that I got, and it says before you wear, try on over your underwear, cold wash before you wear, rinse well, So I forgot which ones I asked for, and the ones I got are the heavy overnight ones, which would explain why they're so thick and fully covered. So these are the heavy overnight ones, which is why they're so heavy duty. But then there's one beyond that. It goes up to super. There's even a handwritten note that's got my discount codes on it as well. Oh. Okay, I'm gonna go try these on over my underwear just to see the vibes. And then I'll have to wear them another day and come back and do a little review. So there we go. Hello, I'm back. You know I did not rinse them in cold water and then wait to put them on. I put them on straight away. I'm impatient. I want to know what they felt like. So, first impressions, relatively comfy. As I was worried about, the seams around the leg and the waist are a little bit tight. But I understand that is to make a seal to stop leakage. They do not feel like the kind of thing I would want to wear all day, but they are the nighttime ones, so maybe they'll be good for overnight. I definitely feel very protected at the back, especially. However, the fabric parts that aren't the pad parts are quite like almost see-through. When I looked in the mirror, I could like see through it. So the fabric is not thick at all. So it's like the only part of the underwear that feels good is the pad part. It is comfier than wearing a pad though, I have to say. It's not nearly as thick or intrusive, and obviously because it's built into the underwear, nothing's moving around or getting stuck to you. There's no sticky tape stuff which can stick to your legs, so that's definitely a bonus. Considering this is the first pair of period underwear that I have ever worn, they're pretty good. They're definitely better and they cover more than what I was expecting. I think especially when you consider the environmental aspect and the amount of reusability you get out of a pair of period underwear versus a pack of pads, that is definitely a huge consideration as well. Like obviously this is going to go so much further and is so much better for the environment, so that feels really good. We'll just have to see how they go overnight when I sleep.
This was my first time trying period undies, and honestly, these made me forget I even had my period. Eco Period Australia seriously got the sensory stuff right. There's no scratchy tags, no weird seams that dig in, just really soft fabric. And the best part is that none of that awful diaper feeling you get with regular pads, just soft, secure comfort that stayed where it was meant to. 10 out of 10 would wear again.
If you want to try these out as well, the link is down below. You can also use my discount code, which is REN10. Oh my gosh, it rhymes. It's like it was made for me. I want to say as well, like I'm really happy that it's becoming a little bit more normalized to talk about periods and to talk about period products and period care, because they are a thing that happen to the vast majority of the population. And we're all just trying our best out here to deal with them comfortably. So products like this make that a lot easier, and I'm really happy that I got to try this out today.